Notice that there are two different letters that you have to consider here. These are your simple statements. Because you have two different simple statements, P is going to be true, true, false, false. And Q is going to be true, false, true, false. This is going to happen every time, so you need to go ahead and learn that and commit it to memory. This happens every time you have two different letters to work with. All right, next we go to the next column. Work inside this first parenthesis. Q implies P. This is a conditional statement. For the conditional statement, you have to know the rule. The rule is if the true comes first and the false comes second, then it is false. So we're going to start with Q and then go to P. So the Q column, we have true implies true. True implies true is true. All right, then we go to false implies true. Well, that's true as well. True implies false. Well, that's false because we said the only time the conditional statement is false is when the true comes first and the false comes second. And then false implies false is true. All right, then we look at not P. Not P is a negation of P. That is the opposite of P. So if P is true, then not P is false. If P is true, then not P is false. If P is false, then not P is true. If P is false, then not P is true. All right, then we put everything together inside the brackets. And notice that the connector here is and. We know the rule for and, or we should know the rule for and. And means it's only true when both are true. Only true when both are true. So we're going to be considering the Q implies P column. We're going to look at this column and this column. And that's how we're going to get our truth values for this column. So true and false is false. And is only true when both are true. True and false is false. False and true is false. And true is true. All right. Then we move on to not Q. Well, not Q means the negation of Q. So we're looking at Q. If we want to negate this, then we're going to look at the opposite. So if Q is true, then not Q is false. If Q is false, then not Q is true. If Q is true, then not Q is false. And if Q is false, then not Q is true. All right, so now we're ready to tie it all together. So now we're going to be looking at let's see, can I get the right colors here? So we're going to look at this column right here implies not Q, which is here. So this implies this. Well, what do you know about implies? That means it's a conditional statement. This is a conditional statement. Well, what's the rule for the conditional statement? Well, the rule is if true comes first and the false comes second, then it's false. So let's look at it. False implies false. Well, that's true. False implies true. Well, that's true. False implies false is true. And true implies true is true. So the question is, determine the statement, whether the statement is a tautology, a self-contradiction, or neither. Well, because we get all true for this last column, then this is a tautology. Hope this helps.